Some things are built to last. Tested by the elements, proven by time, engineered for whatever comes next. Summertown Metals. Strength in every storm. Building dreams that last.
From the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel, this is your weather at noon.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Taylor Plott here in the Tennessee Valley Weather Center, along with meteorologist Kelly Rawson. We want to stick with this cell just for a little bit before we go into our normal forecast here at noon. We have no active watches or warnings for our area, but we are closely watching this supercell that has tried to maintain itself for the past, I would say, hour to 2 hours. It's been tracking across parts of northern Mississippi, and it's just now getting a lot more instability to work with. And it is starting to rotate just a little bit tighter now. If Kelly, you want to pop on the velocity data, this is looking from the Columbus NextRad. This is kind of getting it at the kind of mid-level of the storm. It's not necessarily extremely low level. So we're looking at the mid-level mesocyclone here, but there is some better rotation that's right on top of Waterloo. And this will continue to track on and off towards the northeast. Kelly, what are you thinking it's tracking? About maybe 35 to 40 miles per hour still? So let's go ahead. You can just take the velocity data. Let's do a storm track on this, going off towards the northeast at about 40 miles per hour. So this is just a heads up. Again, there's no active severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning. There is a special weather statement out for this. That's just the Weather Service saying, hey, this is a strong storm. So we're definitely keeping an eye on it. So here's the latest storm track that Kelly has drawn here. It's right on top of Waterloo right now. Wright Community right around 1207. Murphy Crossroads at 1217. Stewartville at 1218, Threet at around 1221, Cypress Inn 1224, Holt at 1226, Cloverdale at 1226, Johnson's Crossroads at 1227, and Bethel Grove at 1230. Again, this is a cell that we're continuing to monitor that has some rotation on it. It has gotten better defined, but it's not tight enough yet, at least for the Weather Service, to go ahead and pop a severe thunderstorm or tornado warning on it. Go back to the reflectivity real quick. Kelly, I want to take a look and see, do like a loop from like the past 15 minutes. I want to see how much this is kind of progressing. This is what we kind of do on the back end before we actually have to go wall to wall. We're really watching to see how these cells mature, and right now it is getting a little bit better of a core on it. So there would be the potential here right on top of Waterloo, going up towards the Cypress Inn area, right along the Natchez Trace Parkway here across far northwestern Lauderdale County, that there could be some pea-sized hail potentially with this cell. So we'll continue to monitor that over the next several minutes. Again, like I mentioned, no active severe thunderstorm or tornado warning on it, but this is a rotating storm. It is a supercell. It's not overly big. You can see here it's not a ginormous supercell, but it does have some rotation on it, so we're going to be watching that very closely, and we'll be right on here in a moment's notice when a warning or if a warning is issued. All right, Kelly, let's flip on over to Links 1, and we'll go through the forecast aspect here. And we'll go take a look at the Arctic Air Skycam network. Let me kind of move that little mobile desk out of the way, have a little more room to maneuver around here. We are watching those cells, like I mentioned, Lawrenceburg, Florence, Pulaski, and Cherokee. We are seeing a cell that's moving into Lawrenceburg right now that does have some heavy rain with it, but nothing that is overly severe or significant. But we are continuing to watch. What's up?
Links 3.
The Links 3.
A possible funnel on the Cherokee.
All right, and there's a tornado warning. So we have a tornado warning now for Colbert and Lauderdale County. So let's stay right here. That looks like it's on the ground, Kelly. I don't know if we can actually zoom in on that. So again, we'll stay here just for a brief period. Then I want to actually go out and take a look and see what this warning polygon looks like. But that looks like a tornado that is getting very close to being on the ground here in Lauderdale County. This is looking from our Cherokee camera. This is looking on off towards northeast. That is on the ground. I can see the condensation funnel all the way on the ground here. So we have a tornado actively on the ground in Lauderdale County near the Waterloo area. This is moving northeast of Waterloo right now. This looks like it's going to end up staying northwest of Florence, but that's kind of getting blurry. Can we flip over to, let's go to Links 2 real quick, Ben, because there's the tornado warning polygon. Let's take a look and see who exactly is in this. So this is going to be northern parts of Lauderdale County here. Here's your tornado. Right in here, right near the Waterloo area. Right, you need to be in your safe spot right now. Stewartville, Gravely Springs, Cypress Inn, I would be considering getting close to that potential because this is right on the border here with Cypress Inn. So you're technically not in the tornado warning, but you're oh so close. So I'll go ahead and take your tornado precautions. Bethel Grove, Cloverdale, Central Heights, and then over towards the Highway 13 corridor here, you got Zip City and Wilson. That's going to be on the far eastern part of this warning polygon. Tornado on the ground here that is just to the southeast of Waterloo. It's right on top of the Tennessee River, and this is going to go oh so close to Wright. So Wright, you need to be in your tornado shelter right now. That is the lowest floor of a site-built structure. Get as many walls between you and the outside as possible. We are still watching our Cherokee camera here. It's getting a little more hazy, but there's your funnel, and most likely that tornado that is on the ground. We saw it here as it was developing. That looks like it is on the ground. Guys, did the Weather Service go confirmed with that, by the way?
I sent the message.
You sent the message, okay. Looking right, it looks like it's right in here. Here's your wall cloud. This is your wall cloud, and we had that tornado that looked like it was on the ground here live from our Cherokee camera, but it's, again, getting back towards that kind of haziness area, so it's back in here somewhere, but that rotation is definitely pretty tight, so I would suspect that there's still a tornado on the ground here. This is moving right into the Wright community, so Wright, you need to be in your tornado shelter right now. I want to re-emphasize real quick, this does not include the city of Florence, this does not include the city of Muscle Shoals. This is that far northern part of Lauderdale County here. Here's your latest storm track that Ben Luna has drawn. Stewartville at 1222. I guess is it pronounced Threet? I've never seen Threet at 1227. Cypress Inn 1232 and Cloverdale at 1234. I've never seen that community pop up on a storm track before. So that is the Threet community. This is going to go north of the Tennessee River now. Here's that Tennessee River that winds back up to Pickwick Lake. This is your area circulation tornado, most likely still on the ground here just to the southeast of Waterloo, moving right over Wright, and it will eventually cross the Natchez Trace Parkway probably here in the next 10 minutes or so. These aren't moving overly fast, but they're not moving slow either. They're moving at about 35 to 40 miles per hour today. So these supercells and these tornadoes will actually track through at a decent pace later on. Here's an extended storm track. So if we go beyond that Bethel Grove community at 1241, Wilson at 1247, Zip City 1247, Fairview 1251, Iron City at 101, and Holly Creek at 102. New tornado warning.
Colbert and Lauderdale.
Are they, what are they doing with that one?
They did observed on it.
Okay, so that's the updated observe. All right, so they do have that observed tornado warning here right on top of Waterloo, just now moving east. Again, like I said, towards that Wright community. No active tornado warning here for parts of Wayne County, for parts of Lawrence County, or for parts of Hardin County. This is specifically Lauderdale County right now, but I will say if you live southeast of Collinwood near the Fairview community, towards Holly Creek, Iron City, West Point, and even towards Loretto, I would go ahead and start keeping a very close eye on this supercell. You don't have to take your tornado precautions yet, but this will likely continue to track towards the northeast and impact parts of southern Wayne and parts of southwestern Lawrence County probably here in the next 30 to 45 minutes. Very tight circulation now. You can even see it on the reflectivity right here. It's just between Waterloo and Wright. What are some of the county roads in here, Ben? I know that it's very rural out here, but there's still people that live out here on some of these roads. I don't know if we're able to kind of get in tighter. Look like we're on our fast track Doppler right here. So let's get in tighter, Sam, if you can, and take a look at some of these road names. If you know how to draw in some of these roads right here. Again, this is just between Waterloo and Wright. This is where that tornado is. It's hugging right along the Tennessee River right here. This is going to be County Highway 8 that goes down from Highway 20 towards Wright. This is County Highway 14 that connects Wright with Waterloo. This is going to be County Road 83 that Fred is drawing over here, County Road 75. If I've called out any of your county road areas right here in the Wright and Waterloo communities, you need to be in your safe spot right now. Fred's drawing on this road. This is Texas Ridge Road. That kind of goes back towards County Road 8. Here's County Road 60 right on top of Stewartville, and this is State Highway 20 that goes all the way up towards the Tennessee state line. So from State Route 20 down towards County Road 60, Texas Ridge Road, County Road 83, down towards County Highway 14. If you're in that general area between Wright and Stewartville, right here between Highway 20 and County Highway 14 down towards the river, you need to be in your tornado shelter right now. I want to reemphasize that's your site-built structure, no mobile homes, no cars. If you're driving along Highway 20, you have time to get off and potentially find a convenience store or just find a shelter that you can get into. But that's lowest floor of a site-built structure. Get as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Put a bike helmet on or a helmet of any kind if you can. That will protect your head. But I will say that this doesn't look like it's a overly significant tornado, but a tornado is a tornado nonetheless, and it can do damage and it can kill you. So we're going to have to take this very seriously, just like any other tornado will. We're looking back towards our Cherokee cam. This is a great vantage point looking back up into that storm, and it looks like, I can't tell if that's exactly it right here. Your wall cloud is all through here, but it looks like we might have a funnel or lowering back over here. We're kind of struggling with the haze today, so that's going to mess with the camera's ability to really kind of zoom in, focus, and have a clear picture. But this looks like
It's been this area in the middle right here.
in the middle right here. So this looks like, I'm kind of seeing a little bit of a funnel potential here. This might be a better monitor to look at from the side. That looks like that could potentially be your tornado right here. And it's again hugging right along the Tennessee River. And again, this is a confirmed tornado from the Weather Service. We did see it earlier on our sky cam here, so we're still pointed in that general direction. Here's the entire wall cloud right here. So if there's going to still be a tornado on the ground, it's going to be right smack dab, like Fred said, right in the middle of that picture. That is a very well-defined wall cloud. I will say this, that supercell that we're watching here is still moving into a very favorable area of instability. You have enough low-level wind shear that you're going to end up getting tornado potential with these storms, as we've obviously seen here. So again, this is moving right on top of Wright. This is going to stay north of downtown Florence, but it is going to move across Highway 20 between or somewhere near Stewartville and close to the Tennessee state line potentially, and also cross the Natchez Trace Parkway further to the east, and then we'll eventually get close to that Highway 13 corridor. Again, this will likely stay north of Florence. So if you're watching me or listening to me in Florence, this is northwest of you. This is the northern part of Lauderdale County. That is definitely getting a little more defined here. So if there is a tornado cell on the ground, it's going to be right here. If not, it's briefly lifted, but it looks like it's starting to develop again because we're getting a little bit of a funnel potentially right back on the back side of that wall cloud.
I'm going to give you the correlation on links 2 real quick.
So there's most likely your tornado debris signature. How does that line up with the, I know it's going to be right on the edge of any velocity or reflectivity, but that's kind of in a dead spot right there, but that's kind of near where you would have that tornado potential. Again, this is right on top of Wright. So Wright, you still need to be in your tornado shelter right now. Stewartville, you need to be in your tornado shelter right now. Zip City also need to be in your tornado shelter right now. Here's the back edge of that wall cloud. Again, like I mentioned, the haze is kind of preventing us from really focusing in because it doesn't allow the camera to really focus. It gets a lot blurry in there, but there is still that potential for that tornado back into this supercell.
Taylor, Waterloo Fire Chief did observe a funnel that crossed over downtown Waterloo. Did not touch from his perspective, but nevertheless did confirm that there was a funnel cloud as that moved over downtown Waterloo.
All right. So it's still possible that it's down, and that's consolidating more. So if the tornado has lifted, that's the supercell's reorganizing itself, and it looks like there could be another tornado that's forming very quickly. Just a quick side note, we do have a tornado watch that will be coming here very shortly, and this will likely include most, if not all of our area here in southern Tennessee, and probably all of potentially that northern part of northern Alabama, but we'll have to wait and see. This is still getting well defined here on our Skycam, Arctic Air Skycam here from Cherokee, looking back into that supercell. This is now crossing over the Wright community near County Road 8, getting close to that Highway 20 corridor, I should say, up towards the Stewartville area. This will also impact Zip City and Wilson potentially down the line, along with Central Heights. Central Heights right there along Highway 20. So as we continue to watch this, again, it looked like we had a tornado live on our Skycam earlier, and that looks like we're getting another tornado that's developing right here. That is a definite funnel. You're getting that cloud that's kind of wrapping back in. Here's your kind of inflow coming into that area rotation right here, that little cloud right here. So that's going to end up being your next tornado potential. So we're watching a new tornado that is potentially developing here if that initial one has lifted. So this is going to, again, move towards Highway 20, towards the the Central Heights community, right on top of the Wright community right now, and also towards Stewartville. I will say, Colbert County, you are in this warning still. This is going to stay northwest of Colbert County. They issued it because it was right on top of the river between the county lines of Colbert and Lauderdale counties. Let me go back to the Huntsville chat real quick, and guys, just chime in whenever you see something.
While you're looking at that, remind folks that this tornado warning for Lauderdale County goes until 12:45 this afternoon.
Yeah.
The National Weather Service in Huntsville issuing this tornado warning for Lauderdale and Colbert. At this point in time, this tornadic storm pretty much all now contained to Lauderdale County. We can give that little northern tip of Colbert County the all clear, as this cell has now crossed the Tennessee River and is definitely now just a Lauderdale County storm.
Yeah, it's definitely just a Lauderdale County storm. Again, it's developed back over here, so that's why they had that Colbert County sliver in there in the warning. Again, this is still staying north of Florence and Muscle Shoals. So here's your area of circulation right here. It's just now towards the northeast of Wright. Looks like it might be taking more of a northeasterly track than that easterly track, guys, so it might end up going more towards Cypress Inn and maybe getting close to Cloverdale as opposed to Central Heights and Wilson, but still you're under the warning here, and Wilson and Central Heights need to be in your tornado shelter right now. It looks like it started kind of trending a little more right and then kind of back towards the northeast, maybe ever so slightly. It's still generally moving northeast. One of the things that we'll watch, just a quick side note, is any of these cells that what we call right movers. So instead of this going in this general direction, if it starts taking a hard right turn to where it's going more easterly than northeast, that enhances that low-level wind shear that the storm can ingest, and you end up getting some greater tornado potential from this. So here's a new updated storm track. If this continues to track, even if it's off to the northeast or have a easterly component here, Stewartville at 12:19, Threet at 12:22, Cloverdale at 12:28, along with Central Heights, Bethel Grove at 12:36, Wilson at 12:40, along with Zip City and Fairview at 12:44. Still watching that area of rotation, and we're still watching our Skycam from the Cherokee area. I'm not sure. I know you're all looking at the Skycams in the background. Are we getting close potentially for the Florence camera to maybe have a slightly better?
It's too far away.
It's still too far away. Okay. I was curious if that might have had a better look at it.
The wall cloud is a bit more broad and disorganized now.
It is. It's not. That used to be a lot lower to the ground. You did have a funnel that started kind of coming out of that wall cloud earlier. So what it looks like this cell is doing, and it's a good chance that the cells today might end up doing the same thing, is they'll tighten up, quickly produce a tornado. That tornado lifts because the circulation occludes, and then the supercell starts to ramp back up again and get another tornado that drops later on. So this is right on top of Texas Ridge Road. This is looking at our fast track Doppler. County Road 8, State Route 20. This is, that's State Route 20 here. That's going to be something completely different. County Road 8 up here that goes towards Murphy Crossroads. The Murphy Crossroads area, this is exactly where that area rotation and that possible tornado is going to track. It's going to cross County Highway 8, Texas Ridge Road, and eventually cross State Highway 20 between Murphy's Crossroads and Stewartville. So Stewartville, Murphy Crossroads need to be in your shelter right now. I've called you out before. You should have already been there. If not, you need to go now. Lowest floor, site-built structure, away from windows. Get as many walls between you and the outside as possible. That kind of central location, closet, laundry room, something like that. And this is now our live X-band radar. It's getting within range, and there is a lot of velocity here. There is some rotation, as we've already noted, from both our live Doppler and the Columbus NextRad. But like as Fred said, looking at the Skycam, that overall structure of the wall cloud is starting to deteriorate a little bit, but these cells can cycle. That's what I talked about earlier. It can tighten up, produce a tornado, then cycle back, tornado lifts, and it does it all over again. So there's a chance that this could be recycling. So if there isn't a tornado on the ground here between Wright and Stewartville, there could be in as much as the next couple of minutes potentially. I still want to stress, though, Cypress Inn, you're not in this tornado warning. This is the Weather Service in Huntsville has control over Lauderdale County. It's the Weather Service in Nashville that has control over our southern Tennessee counties here in parts of Wayne and Lawrence County. So they have not issued anything yet. You're not under tornado warning, but I will go ahead and start making your tornado precautions very quickly here in Cypress Inn. Also thinking about it here in Fairview, because you would be next in line with this supercell and that possible tornado right on top of Stewartville right now. It's just about to cross Highway 20 and almost getting very close to the Natchez Trace Parkway and Highway 157 here, Alabama Highway 157, between Cloverdale and the Cypress Inn community right on top of the state line. Guys, how's the Skycam looking? Are we still kind of potentially looking at that wall cloud?
It's even more disorganized than it was a minute ago.
Okay. Yeah, it's still back in. What's that, Chase?
Getting hazy too.
Yeah, that's one of the problems, especially with this. We couldn't really get tight in on it, but there is still that wall cloud back there, and there is a little bit of rotation still on the radar. But like what Fred said, it's getting disorganized. Here's the base of it. Right here, I can kind of see it through the haze, and this base used to be a lot lower to the ground. So again, we're either seeing the supercell weaken, and hopefully it does, and we don't end up getting a prolonged tornado risk with it, or the other thing we're watching, like I mentioned, it cycles back, and that usually takes about maybe 5 to 10 minutes to complete. It just depends on how the supercell structure is. It can happen sooner, it can happen later. Just how the whole storm reacts to the environment will determine how long it could potentially take for it to recycle and potentially strengthen back up. So we're still watching the Cherokee cam. There's nothing on it right now. If we want to go back to links 2, and let's go ahead and back the view out real quick, because I know a lot of people are going to be watching here. And again, this is the only warning that we have on the board right now, and that is here for parts of northern Lauderdale County. We have other cells that are here northeast of Lawrenceburg, over towards Linville here in Giles County. This is north of Pulaski. They are not severe, they are not strong, but there are some heavy downpours with it. Another cell that is just to the north of Rogersville that's getting close to the Anderson community that will continue to move into parts of Limestone County in Alabama. That's not severe, that's not significant. Our only one on the board right now is this tornado warning that is for Lauderdale County. And we can zoom back in, Chase, and we take another look at this. Again, a little too close there. That is still that Cypress Inn area that he zoomed in on. Again, I do stress, go ahead and take your tornado precautions if you're in Cypress Inn. There's no official warning here for Wayne County from the Weather Service in Nashville, but this is so close that if it were to tighten back up very quickly, this could be a potential tornado that impacts the Cypress Inn community right there along the Natchez Trace Parkway and Tennessee Highway 227. But this is now right on top of Stewartville. This is crossing Highway 20 right now, and it will eventually be crossing the Natchez Trace Parkway. Chase, if you want to go and zoom in, let's zoom in between Stewartville and the Natchez Trace Parkway. There's the Threet community right here. Let's get some of these county roads. We haven't really called out any of them that are north of 20. This is County Highway 13 that goes from Alabama Highway 20 back off towards the north. This is County Road 5 that kind of parallels the Natchez Trace Parkway right towards the Threet community. Sam's drawing some up, some more. So here's County Road 143 that connects with County Road 183. Again, here's the Natchez Trace Parkway, County Road 85 right here between Murphy's Crossroads, and it looks like it kind of goes towards the Natchez Trace Parkway. Again, this is just now crossing Highway 20 between Stewartville and Murphy's Crossroads. I know there's not a lot out there. There's still, I believe, some convenience stores kind of periodically out here along Highway 20. It's been a while since I've driven Highway 20 from Florence all the way up into that southern Tennessee part as it switches over from Highway 20 to the Tennessee Highway over there. But there's still people that live out here, but there's really not a lot of businesses. There's not a lot of, like I said, not a lot of convenience stores. There are some, but not a whole lot. Here's a look at our velocity data here from the Expand next Doppler that we have here in Lawrenceburg. Again, still watching it between Murphy's Crossroads and Stewartville. This is just in our range here from being able to detect this supercell. This is going to very close to Threet. So again, I've called you out multiple times today. If you're in Threet, you need to be in your tornado shelter right now. If it continues to track a little bit more towards the northeast and east, Cloverdale, Johnson's Crossroads, and Bethel Grove, you will be next in line as it crosses the Natural Series Parkway and then eventually crosses Alabama Highway 157. Here's a look at the latest storm relative velocity. The other thing, guys, I'm noticing, look at that lightning count. That's back down to 1, and it had a lot more lightning on it earlier. So hopefully it's moving into a little bit more of a stable air mass.
Yeah, we're looking at it on the UNA cam in Florence, and it had a pretty pronounced wall cloud here just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it so pronounced right now.
And these
so
are
that's good sign, but
and these are tags. These are not funnels, I don't think, right now, but these are low-hanging, what we call like tags, little scud clouds. They're just part of the wall cloud, but it's those areas that we'll have to watch for to see if they start to tighten up and have a little more rotational velocity with it and could potentially produce tornadoes. But like Kelly said, really not that well pronounced. It's still there. You still have that lowering. But again, just because you have a lowering doesn't mean you're going to get a tornado. It just means that the updraft is starting to strengthen, that wall cloud starts to lower. That's just the base of that updraft, so it starts to lower down, and then you start potentially talking about the chance that this produces a tornado if that rotation gets tight enough. And right now, that is still pretty broad. So Kelly, just keep an eye on that, if you will. So that is a good sign here from the velocity data. Again, tornado warning continues. I still want you in your tornado shelter right on top of Stewartville, Threet, Cypress Inn. I still want you to get close to that, if not in it right now, just as a course of least regret. Cloverdale and Bethel Springs also. And like I mentioned before, Fairview, again, you're no official warning yet. You don't need to be in your tornado shelter yet, but I need you to start thinking about heading in that direction if this supercell continues to cycle back, strengthen, and if there is a tornado warning that is needed for parts of southeastern Wayne and southwestern Lawrence counties earlier. A little bit further to the east here, I know we hadn't talked about Zip City and Wilson in a bit. You're still in the tornado warning. Again, if this takes a right turn, this could impact that Highway 13 corridor here from Zip City down to Wilson and Jacksburg. But right now, it looks like it's trending a little bit more towards the northwest of you guys, but still, you're under the tornado warning. You need to be in your tornado shelter right now. Take your tornado precautions as a course of least regret. But right now, it looks like that will continue to track towards the northeast, right on top of Bethel Grove and the Cloverdale area. Latest scan here, I guess this is still Columbus, right? Yes. Still GWX. Still seeing some rotation, but it continues to get broader. Chase, can you kind of pan back towards the circulation, kind of center up the circulation? Now go back like a couple of scans. I know it's trended down. I just kind of want to visually see it.
Sure, 1 second.
So he's going to back up what the radar, what the velocity data look like for the past couple of scans. So again, this is the current one.
And then I'll go back here for you.
And you can see how it was tighter back here. And then once it got across the Highway 20, I see you over there, Fred. What's up?
Just a quick note, we are working on getting permission to show it on air, but there has been a picture of it in contact with the ground crossing the Tennessee River near Waterloo. We're working on getting permission.
Oh, wow. Okay. That looks like it's on the river. So that would, technically, that makes it a water spout, which is just a little side note. But again, what Chase did here, as we looked at that kind of trend on the velocity data, you see right over here, that was pretty tight, still tight, and then all of a sudden it starts to broaden out, which is really good. You're still getting, so this is your outbounds. Your reds are going away from the radar, green's going towards, so that's why you have that type of rotation right here. But you're still getting some pretty good bright reds here, and that indicates that it's still sucking in that warm, unstable air mass. You're still getting that inflow going into the storm. The problem is it's not wrapping back on the back side, what we call that rear flank downdraft. That's the downdraft that comes out on the back side of the storm, and because it's an area low pressure, you have that counterclockwise rotation, so that wind comes down and gets sucked in back around on the back side. So you don't have that RFD is what we call it, that push back here. So you're still getting a lot of inflow. And Chase, do you have a mic on over there? You do have a mic on. Kind of, what is your kind of assessment on that radar presentation like I was talking about?
Yeah, one of the things I want to mention again is we still only have one lightning strike. Right?
Yeah.
So that kind of tells you where.
And it's right here.
It's right on the north side of the state line. Yeah. So that kind of tells you where this cell's at right now. Stagnant, I think, is the best way to put it. For the last, I'd say 10 minutes or so, it's not really strengthened or weakened. It's kind of stayed with this broad mesocyclone. And we're still looking at it from our cameras behind the scenes, and the base kind of has increased a little bit, the cloud height. So we're not seeing anything hanging out of it too precariously. But this, I mean. It can do it just like that, as it did, right? It didn't take long for it to go down, and it could come right back just like that. But right now, I'm not seeing anything indicating it's coming up right now. But I think it could very quickly. So I'm watching our live radar here behind the scenes too, because it's looking 1,000 feet.
Yeah, it's got a closer scan with it. Again, this is kind of in a little bit of a radar hole, meaning that you can't get the lowest velocity or the lowest scan of the radar.
Yeah, this is 6,000 feet.
Yeah, so you're cutting that middle part of the storm, which is good to see the mesocyclone, and it does catch tornadoes. It did. It saw that rotation, and we had a tornado being produced from this storm. It was confirmed. But the problem is we're cutting at the mid-level, so that's why Chase mentioned our X-band here in Lawrenceburg is getting a lower scan. It's about 1,000 feet, so it's getting some better. And that is still some good inbound velocities here. Again, this could be that different color because of where the radar is located. So that's why it was red here from the Columbus extract, is that's going away from that radar, but our radar's up here, so that's going towards our radar. But that's still showing that area rotation here. And it looks like, Chase, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like it's a little tighter than last time, maybe?
Yeah, we can do the same thing here where we
I
can
do
kind of play it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's a little tighter over the last, I'd say, 5 to 10 minutes.
We're seeing a little bit more of a pronounced wall cloud on the floor.
Let's go ahead, flip over to Lynx 1 real quick,
Sure
and
thing,
let's go to that Florence cam, because that's exactly what Kelly's talking about here. Again, this little area right here, this is still your wall cloud. And like I mentioned before, these are the little tags, little appendages that kind of drape out from that wall cloud. And any one of those could end up being that area rotation that starts to tighten up. So I'll step off the screen here.
I want to mention we're seeing a lightning uptick too, which of course...
That's getting stronger.
Yeah, in the time in which I said we have one about 90 seconds ago, we now have 5. So.
Okay, yeah, you end up getting a spike in, if you have rotation, you end up getting a spike in lightning. That usually indicates that circulation is probably going to start tightening up because that updraft gets stronger. So we're going to hang it here just for a little bit to see. It looks like that middle section is going to end up being that kind of best spot for a tornado being produced, because it looks like this one's wrapping back into it. So this is going to potentially end up being your next tornado. I do believe it's been lifted. We've seen multiple indications that we likely do not have a tornado on the ground right now, but it looks like this area right in here is starting to get primed again.
Starting to see some scud rising into it. See right there just below it?
Yep, you're getting that scud rising, so that's that updraft. It looks like you're starting to get a funnel that's starting to develop here. So it looks like, I don't think this is it. I think that's kind of that little cut that's coming into it. This is going to end up being your wall cloud and potential funnel cloud and tornado if it were to tighten up. And you are getting some fingers that look like it is rotating. I don't know how well the resolution is going to be because of the haze. Are we able to zoom in maybe just a little more?
It may be zoomed in. Let's see.
We're still zooming in just a touch.
All right, that actually has a little bit better resolution with it. It's kind of going in and out, I see. That's probably going to be your best spot right there then.
It's definitely getting a bowl kind of shape.
Yep.
It's going to, we have to go back, it's going to consistently go in and out.
Okay.
Or
So that's-
12 lightning strikes now. So
All right, that's strengthening. We're going to have a tornado most likely on the ground here in the next couple minutes, I think. We're getting lightning increase with the strong updraft. Let's go over to fast track real quick. All right, that is definitely tightening up on the rotation. Again, this is looking from the Columbus NexRad. You're getting tighter rotation. We're still watching. I can see it off to my right here, Kelly. We're still watching that Lynx 1, that Skycam over at the campus of the University of North Alabama. We're watching this rotation crossing Cloverdale Road right now. It will eventually cross County Road. Sam, correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like that pumping station's in the way, but that's County Road 147, Pumping Station Road. That's going to be in the part of Wayne County. County Road 141 here in Lauderdale County, County Road 259 in Lauderdale County. This is right where it's tracking over County Road 141, County Road 259. That's going to be kind of pan up a little bit. What's this one? That one that says Cypress Creek. There's a word that's before it. Middle Cypress Creek Road right here. Again, this is the far northern part of Lauderdale County, eventually getting into parts of Wayne and parts of Lawrence County here in Tennessee. This is Witten School Road right here. This is going to be Zip City County, or State Highway 13 here in Lauderdale County. What does it turn into in the Tennessee area? Is it still 13? Actually, yeah, I think it actually is still 13. When it goes
17 on the Alabama side, 13 on the Tennessee side. 17
Alabama, 13 on Tennessee. All right, thank you, Fred. So that's where that transition happens, right on top of the state line. This is still getting tighter. I'm watching that wall cloud over here on my right, and that lightning chase, as you mentioned, there's tons of strikes now. We are definitely going up into double digits. That's 19 now over the past, I believe that goes, I believe that goes 15 minutes.
Well, this was just in the last.
Wall cloud over here on my right, and that lightning chase, as you mentioned, there's tons. So if you're right, get issued here very soon. Again, this is still that area of rotation that we're watching. It's between the Natchez Straits Parkway, Highway 157, and here Highway 13 and Highway 17. 13 here in Tennessee, 17 here in Lauderdale County. There's a new scan from the Columbus NextRad. It looks like it's broadened out a little bit in the mid levels. Excuse me. But like what Chase mentioned, and like what we've been mentioning, there is a lot more lightning with this, so that indicates the cell's getting stronger, updraft's getting stronger, and you have that potential for that tornado development to come back around here. So again, we're still watching sky cams. I don't see anything yet. Zip City, Fairview tornado shelter right now. It's going right on top of Bethel Grove. This is across Highway 157. It's getting very close to that Alabama-Tennessee state line here. And like we mentioned, the Weather Service in Nashville will be issuing that tornado warning very soon. This is from Bill Phillips, train spotter on 43 and State Line, has eyes on it and says it does not have, they don't see anything concerning. So that's good news, I guess. I'm kind of curious what, I guess they're talking about that cell. It's kind of, 43 is right over here, so it looks like they're going to be looking back in that area. It might be tough to see because you're going through a lot of heavy rain and maybe a little bit of hail looking back through there. Strikes are now up to 34. While we have a moment, let's do a quick reset. Again, we don't have that tornado warning yet, but they're drawing it up. This is the only cell of concern right now. This is the only one on the board that actually has a tornado warning or a severe warning on it right now. Again, I mentioned earlier, there's that cell that's north of Linville moving into parts of southern Murray and parts of western Marshall County, southwestern Marshall, about to cross Interstate 65. That's getting a little bit stronger, but it's not strong, it's not severe, but it does have a pretty hefty downpour with it. Everything else back off to the southwest we're watching. We're starting to see a lot more coloring here in the radar, so that's telling me that these showers are starting to get stronger. They're getting some more updraft potential with it, and those are the ones that our model guidance has suggested that they could end up becoming supercells. So just like this one here, there could be some back over here that start to develop later on today. All right, we're going back into the cell real quick here. Again, right on top of Bethel Grove, and again,
And Taylor, if I could add, I'm just looking behind the scenes on the Skycam. It looks like the storm is trying to concentrate a circulation center and struggling to do that. That seems to be why it's not maybe producing anything at this time. It's certainly rotating even at the low levels, but it seems like it's kind of fragmented in where it's trying to rotate.
Let's go over to Lynx 1 real quick, and then once we get that warning, we'll get the time of his arrival and show you who's in it. I've been watching that, and like Kelly said, it looks like it tries and then it fails and it tries again and it fails again, which is good. If it continues to do that, that would mean that it won't produce another tornado, but we can't say that for certain. There still is rotation with it, and that right there has my eye. That looks like it is rotating ever so slightly. Kelly, I know you're kind of closer to the screen there. It looks like this is rotating, so this could be a possible funnel that's that's trying to get going and consolidate. So again, we'll keep an eye on that. That wall cloud does look pretty raggedy. And usually when it looks pretty raggedy, it's not completely organized. If a well-defined wall cloud is organized, it's very smooth looking. And then you end up getting that rotation and that funnel cloud drop from it. All right, we have that new warning that has come across that is for Lawrence and Wayne. So that tornado polygon will be popping up here very soon. We have a storm track here. Again, this is just about to cross the state line into far southeastern parts of Wayne County. Here is your tornado warning. It does include Loretto. If you're in Loretto, if you're in St. Joseph, Iron City, you need to be in your tornado shelter right now. You need to head that way. Again, like I've talked about, lowest floor, site-built structure, get as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and that's going to protect you from this tornado. This is not a strong tornado at the moment. We're watching to see what happens, but right now this tornado is, if it happens, it looks like it's on the weaker side right now. So again, if you are taking your tornado shelter on a site-built structure, many walls between you and the outside as possible, you'll be just fine from this circulation right now. But it's right on top of Bethel Grove. This is just about to cross the state line. You had those times of arrival right there. And this is going to be very close to Fairview, and it's going to cross Highway 13 most likely. Holly Creek, you're not on the tornado warning, but I would keep watching this if you live in Holly Creek, because if it does end up taking more of a northward turn, it could impact Holly Creek. Same thing for West Point here. If it takes more of a northward jog, it actually could flirt with the potential of getting into West Point right now. Strikes are up to 48 right now down to 47. What's the setting on that, Chase? Is that every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes?
Yes, every
15 minutes. That's what I thought. It was every 15 minutes. Just wanted to double check on that. So this is 48 strikes in the past 15 minutes. We're getting that lightning increase, so this cell is continuing to strengthen. The question is it going to strengthen enough and be able to get some tight rotation back on and produce another tornado? We had a tornado earlier in the Waterloo area. We've seen that from our sky cam. We have spotter pictures of it. It was on the ground, so we did have a tornado from this, but right now I don't think that we have a tornado on the ground. We're still watching sky cams as this crosses the state line here, getting very close to that Highway 13 and Highway 17 corridor between Zip City and Fairview. What you got, Ben?
We are now live on Big River Broadcasting Stations, Kix 96 and WQLT.
All right, so that what Ben said, we're on Kix 96 and 107.3 WQLT over there in the Shoals. So if you are listening to me, if you're in the Shoals, this does not affect you. This is northern Lauderdale County. This is up into Tennessee parts as well. This is going to be extreme southeastern Wayne County and southwestern parts of Lawrence County in Tennessee. So again, if you're listening to me on Kix 96 and WQLT 107.3, this does not include the city of Florence. It does not include Killen, does not include Rogersville, does not include Lexington right now. This does not include Muscle Shoals, Tuscumbia, or the Sheffield areas. This is extreme northern Lauderdale County, just about to cross the Tennessee-Alabama state line, right on top of Bethel Grove. Let's get in a little tighter, Chase. Let's get some street names here. This is County Road 11. This is Chisholm Road. That's that highway that we talked about, Highway 17 in Alabama, Highway 13 in Tennessee. Some people call it as Chisholm Road. This is north of Zip City going into parts of southern Tennessee. This is Witten School Road right here, Pumping Station Roads right up here towards Fairview. That's the road that goes from 13 off towards the west from the Fairview community. That's where this circulation is going to be tracking as it crosses the state line here. Just now getting towards the north of Bethel Grove. And I will say, because we are getting a little higher up in the atmosphere, the circulations in the mid-level is right here. In the low levels, it's probably back a little bit towards here. So I did say kind of north of Bethel Grove. It's probably just a little south of Bethel Grove between Johnson Crossroads and Bethel Grove. That scan had a little bit better inflow into this storm. So it looks like that circulation's trying to tighten back up. We're watching our sky cam here. Kelly's on it. We're watching our sky cam from the campus of the University of North Alabama over there in Florence. I'm looking at it right now. It's not overly, I say that. Okay, I was looking at something completely different. Yeah, that's not a well-defined wall cloud yet. So again, it's kind of coming and going. I will say, Chase, I know we're getting a higher cut in the storm here, but that is a better looking core with it. Probably some pea-sized hail. What's your radar analysis of this right now, if you don't mind?
No, I agree. I think this is kind of indication that we're in that updraft strengthening phase, right? Which of course takes some time to translate down to maybe a more organized wall cloud, maybe even a higher tornado potential. But right now, I definitely agree. And matter of fact, if you really squint there, you can kind of see a bounded weak echo region there just northeast of Bethel Grove in the mid-levels here. So this higher DBZ, these higher values, support the fact that this updraft is strengthening. We're up to 53 strikes now, so all signs point to this strengthening, but we haven't seen that translate down just yet. But given how fast this strengthened, last 15 minutes, 52 strikes, it's like pretty much literally a 50-fold increase in lightning. It won't take long for this thing. So we have to watch this very carefully. It definitely is on a strengthening phase, I would say, right now.
Yeah, exactly, Chase. You saw behind Chase. We're fully staffed here. Got Chief Meteorologist Fred Goss, has got Meteorologist Ben Luna, along with Meteorologist Kelly Rawson, and also Sam Camp is in here as well, fully staffed here in the Tennessee Valley Weather Center. We're continuing to watch not only this supercell, but again, we're not done yet for the day. It's not this supercell and we're done. This could be supercell 1 out of potential others that will be developing later on today as we kind of zoom back out. Again, we're watching these cells. Quickly go to the radar network. I want to just take like a big picture. Then we need to go back in because this is about to cross the state line, but kind of back out. I want to see what's going on in Arkansas. I do want to see that they are going to issue a tornado watch out here. Or getting some cells that are developing near Little Rock. That's going to end up being our evening show with the potential line moving through. Is it a line? Is it embedded supercells? Unsure yet, but that's going to be our evening aspect. Our afternoon aspect is what happens out in this area. There's still some showers that are developing, but are these showers going to end up producing lightning, get strong, and potentially become supercells and potentially tornadic? That is something we're watching right now. Let's go back into the cell because, again, that's the overall aspect. This is the only cell of concern right now. This is the only warning on the map. This is now crossing the state line between Bethel Grove and Fairview right here along Tennessee Highway 13 and Alabama Highway 17. It will eventually cross Tennessee Highway 227 that goes from Fairview down towards Iron City and into the parts of the St. Joseph area here right along Highway 43. So Fairview, Iron City, St. Joseph, Loretto, safe spot right now. Again, I've called you out before. I'm calling you out again. And you need to be in your safe spot. Again, that's lowest floor, site built structure, away from windows. Kind of get that kind of interior room if you can. Closet, bathroom, hallway, or if you have a laundry room that is kind of centrally located as well. Again, I don't think we're dealing with a strong tornado with this, but a tornado is a tornado, and you need to take it seriously because it can cause you harm if you are in the path of this tornado. Let's go ahead and do another storm track. I know that we did one earlier. I don't think I actually called out the names. I was calling out some streets. So let's go ahead and do another one here. So this is going to be Fairview about 12:52, Iron City right around 1 o'clock, St. Joseph 108, Green Hill 108, and eventually Loretto at 1:17. Right now, I think it's going to potentially stay south of Leoma, but it's way out there that if it ends up taking a kind of a northward turn, Leoma, I couldn't even rule out southern parts of Lawrenceburg if this ends up taking more of a northward turn, but it's been consistent in going more east, northeast, and northeast. So I would think more Union Hill, 5 Points, close to Bonnertown, Revelo, and Fall River could potentially be down the road. Crossroads there as well as Gum Springs. That could potentially be down the road if this supercell continues to maintain itself and survive. But again, right now I'm not seeing anything that is screaming that there's a tornado on the ground. I'm still keeping an eye on the Florence Skycam here on our ArcAir Skycam network from Kelly, if you want to go ahead and flip that on.
Yeah, we still have hints of a wall cloud structure here, but it's a lot flatter, it's a lot higher based, and it's just about flat with the parent rain-free base now. So barely any vestiges of a wall cloud still there.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. There is a little bit of a lowering back here. It's kind of hard to see, but it's still right with what Fred was talking about, where it's not really defined, and that's a really good thing. Like I talked about, if it's raggedy looking, if it's just not well defined, that means that circulation is still there, but it's not overly strong, significant. It's not really organized. What you want to see is what we saw earlier, kind of that very clean-cut looking lowering. You get a funnel that drops from it that could potentially produce a tornado. That's not a funnel right here. That's a little bit of some scud clouds that's rising into this storm. That's that updraft sucking in that warm, moist air. Look at that, 84/70. That is what the dew point and temperature is right now on the campus of the University of North Alabama. Very warm, unstable air mass It's a bit sticky out there, kind of feels a lot more like early summer, which we're getting very close to anyway. So it has that kind of sticky feel out there. So we're watching that still, not seeing anything that's showing that there's, what you got?
Giles.
Do what?
Northern Giles.
Go to northern Giles County.
All right. Oh, we were watching that one earlier. Yeah. Let me
That's that cell that looked like it was trying to get stronger. It has a little bit of a hook. I will tell you that it's not going to take much today for these cells to start to rotate, even in the mid-levels. There is some inflow coming into this. So if you live in Campbell Station, this is our X-band, right?
Yeah,
This is our X-band. Campbell Station, over towards Mooresville, Globe, towards Wilson Hill, north of, is that pronounced Bivens? Bivens, right here. You're going to be watching this very closely. I think it goes north of Bivens, but Mooresville, you're kind of more in the crosshairs here. This is a cell. There's no lightning on it. You see that lightning counter. Anything in the window, you see this entire frame right here. That's the lightning strike counter. So if it shows 0, there's 0 strikes in this frame. So there's no lightning with this yet. If there does become lightning with it, that's going to be a little bit of more of a concern, because that tells me that that cell is starting to develop a little bit more. This is another look at it. This is coming from the...
I'll switch to OHX just to get it.
So that was GWX. Here's OHX. Here's the Nashville Nextrad, showing that mid-level rotation. Like I said, it's not going to take much for these cells to rotate in the mid-levels today. There's more than enough wind shear that any cell that goes up, it's going to start to rotate. The question is, does it rotate fast enough and strong enough where you can get a tornado being produced by it? So right now, I'm not overly concerned here. Right on top of Campbell Station, Culleoka, Bryant Station, Berlin, Lewisburg, Cornersville, right on top of the I-65 corridor between Bryant Station and that Cornersville exit. Again, we're watching this. It's not overly strong. I'm not really concerned about it right now, but we're going to be keeping a very close eye on it, because it is a cell out by itself. It's starting to rotate, and there's a chance it could tighten up, and it might end up being a potential tornado producer down the road. But let's go back down like what Chase did here.
I notice our lightning is ticking down again, so that initial push upwards of the strengthening updraft might be starting to taper off again. That might have been our attempt earlier where we saw it kind of get the bowl. Not to say it couldn't do it again, it absolutely could, but it looks like this push is starting to taper down just a bit.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I hope that continues to be the case. Again, we've been watching these cells that kind of pulse up and down, and right now there's still some rotation here, getting very close to Highway 227, very close to Iron City. This is right on top of the state line of Alabama and Tennessee, and really almost at that little tri-point here between Lauderdale County, Wayne County, and Lawrence County, that little tri-point area right there along the Tennessee-Alabama state line. So that's exactly where that rotation is. I do want to stress again, we're looking kind of higher up in the atmosphere. So if there was a tornado, it's not going to be here. It's probably going to be a little bit just to the tad south of that area rotation. Not by much, maybe about a mile south of it, but still generally in that area right here. So Iron City, Lower Holly Creek, Mount Nebo, St. Joseph,
Nebo.
Excuse me, Mount Nebo, or it's at Nebo.
Mount Nebo.
Nebo.
You got Star Wars on the mind.
I know, I got Star Wars on my mind. You need to be in your tornado shelter right now, Wolf Creek as well. Right now, I'm not seeing anything that is screaming tornado. We've talked about that. Fred's talked about that, Chase and Kelly as well. We're watching every aspect of this, but right now I'm not seeing anything that's showing that this is producing a tornado right now. But that doesn't mean that it can't later on down the line. But like what Chase just pointed out, we're down to 19 strikes over the past 15 minutes. And that was down from about 50 earlier. So this cell is starting to kind of come down a little bit. See that counter keep coming down. That's now 17. So now we're watching to see if it starts to try to pulse back up. And potentially, and I say pulse back up, that is a little bit tighter, at least in the mid-levels. Low levels, that's definitely less well-defined, Chase, in the lower levels.
I would agree. We're getting a little attenuated, but I wanted to kind of see what we were seeing here, because we're only looking 800 feet up, so I was hoping this would have a better view. But we're kind of in the forward flank of it, looking at it that way, but I'll keep a close eye on that. But I agree, it is definitely looking wholesale on the low end in terms of the low levels here so far anyways.
Yeah.
There's still a little inflow, but it's not quite as tight as it was earlier.
I'm going to stick my hand right here, switch back to the Columbus real quick, because that did look like it tightened up. So again, that's going to be taking a look at the mid-level part of the storm, and that did tighten up just a little bit. So usually what happens, it's not the low levels that go first, It's the mid-levels. You start getting that mid-level rotation, getting stronger up in the storm, and that translates itself down towards the surface. It's not from the surface up, it's from the storm down. So whenever you start seeing some tighter rotation here in the mid-levels, we're going to have to be watching that low-level threat, because if we flip over to our next rad, or excuse me, our live Doppler X-band, you see there's not a lot going on here. You got some bright colors, that's some noise, that's not really indicative of rotation, but you are seeing that potential maybe that could start to translate a little bit further down the storm if it gets tighter. But the good news is that next scan did kind of lose that velocity signature. Again, these are the reds. These are going away from the radar down in Mississippi. So that's your inflow coming into the storm that way. But there's not a lot of wraparound on the backside, and that's what helps produce that tornado. So that's a good thing that we're watching right now. But still, Lower Holly Creek, Iron City, Mount Nebo. I'm still struggling with that. That's that could be an issue.
Hey, no.
Nebo. Mount Nebo over towards Clack Branch, St. Joseph. You still need to be in your tornado shelter right now. Also Loretto and Busby. You need to be in your shelter right now, and off towards the east of that, Brown Crossroads, Liberty Grove, Peppertown, and Rascaltown also need to be in your tornado shelter right now, because we're still watching that area rotation. It's now firmly in Tennessee. It has crossed the state line. It is firmly in, it looks like, right along the county line between Wayne and Lawrence County, right on top of Iron City. And I will say, I know we got some eyes with the Skycam, but there's getting a little more, it's not heavily populated, but you're getting a lot more kind of populated areas here in southwestern Lawrence County than you did here across parts of northern Lauderdale County. So there's going to be a little more eyes, a bit more eyes on this storm. So if there was going to end up being a circulation that gets down on the ground, we're probably going to know about it pretty quickly. I see Kelly was going through some of the sky cams over there. So that's Loretto, but that's not, I don't think no, that's not looking in the general direction.
No, that's looking southeast.
Okay, that's looking southeast. So again, I'm still liking what I'm seeing here. There's still mid-level rotation. It's still a supercell, but the good news is I'm not seeing anything that's tight. We do now have a report of damage from the EMA in Lauderdale County. This is from or near County Road 14, the 10400 block of County Road 14 in Lauderdale County. That is coming across the Weather Service chat right now. So it looks like we do have some damage. We did have a tornado on the ground with this earlier. It was confirmed. We saw it on our Skycam. We have photos of it coming across social media, and now we have damage being reported from the Lauderdale County EMA. Again, it's unknown damage. They don't say exactly what it is. It's just there's this damage right there near 10400 block of County Road 14 and Lauderdale County. So again, still watching this area rotation. Iron City over towards St. Joseph, Wolf Creek, getting a little better hook on it. What's our height over here, Chase? I'm just curious.
The height right here in the core is 7,400 feet.
Okay.
So, as you were mentioning earlier, we are going up and up and up as it gets further and further away.
Yeah.
Eventually, it'll be in Nashville range, but not quite.
Right. You're still getting that inflow notch even at that height, so it's still sucking in that warm, moist, unstable air. But if you take a look at that inflow notch where the tornado, if you were going to have a tornado, it's going to be right here. You see that the velocity data isn't really showing much in the way of big time circulation with this. So that's still continuing to be good, and that strike count continues to go way down. It was around about 10 to 15 minutes ago, maybe.
So I mean, over the last 15, 20 minutes, we again sunk right back down to where we were before, where as it was heading into northeastern Lauderdale County, where we were talking about it, had one or two strikes. We're right back where we were with 4 strikes, probably 3 soon, because these were all, you can tell by the colors how they're shaded very lightly.
Yeah.
These were 10 minutes ago at least. So I'm liking what I see here so far. I'm definitely liking the trends.
Yeah. Let me see what the velocity data is. Just do like a couple pixel queries.
Sure.
Because like what he mentioned, the colors are getting kind of not on the bright side, it kind of dull looking. So that's about 20 to 30 mile an hour winds right here towards the radar, or it's gonna be away from the radar, and about 8 to 10 miles an hour towards the radar. So you add those together, that's about 38 to 40 miles per hour turning of the winds. And that's not really gonna cut it when it comes to tornado producing storms. You want that to be a combined rotation of like 60, 70, 80 miles per hour, even more than that, because that's going to really show you that tight rotation. It did tighten back up just a little bit, still on the weaker side though. So it does look like this cell is still kind of pulsing up and down. It just crossed Iron City here, and it's going right along Tennessee Highway 227 towards the St. Joseph community, and then eventually down the road, like I mentioned, I've called you out before, Clack Branch, Loretto, Busby, down towards Brown Crossroads, Liberty Grove, over towards Peppertown and Rascaltown. You still need to be in your tornado shelter right now. Again, I don't think that this is going to end up being a strong tornado, at least as it looks right now, but I still stress, a tornado is a tornado, but you don't really need to be underground for this. If you have an underground shelter, that's perfect. That's a perfect spot to be, but you can ride a tornado out if you are in a site-built structure with this thing, and if you get as many walls between you and the outside as possible, that interior room, you're going to be just good to go with this. So I don't want that fear out there that this is something that is going to just completely devastate you and you're not going to be able to survive. No, that's not going to be the case at all. You still have that rotation, but we're not talking about a very violent tornado with this. So again, just kind of want to put that out there. If you are in a site-built structure, you can ride this one out just as well, as long as you stay in that interior room, that closet kind of hallway area, and get as many walls between you and the outside as possible. That's looking from high top, I believe.
Yep.
Is what we switched.
High top. We're just now within kind of its closer range now. So this is actually looking 7,400 feet earlier. This is 6,700
Okay,
feet.
so a little lower.
Yeah.
I did want to mention that the tornado warning in Wayne County has been canceled because this is now out of Wayne County. So this is strictly in Lawrence County right now. Again, I mentioned it's getting right on top of Highway 227. Let's zoom in just a little bit here, Chase. Let's get some road names here between Iron City, St. Joseph, and Wolf Creek. This is Danley Road right here, Wolf Creek Road. That looks like it winds itself all the way back towards the St. Joseph area. Fairview Road, Bluff Road. Again, this is US Highway 43 right here. This is Bluff Road right over here that goes to the north of St. Joseph. Green Road as well that goes over to Mount Nebo. Yeah, I'm still going to struggle with that. You're right, it's Star Wars reference. And then that's
Beartown Road.
Beartown Road right here. That kind of winds its way back up towards the Loretto community and East Main Street that comes out of Loretto. Fairview Road as well. St. Mary's also here, that little community. That's right on top of, oh geez, what is that? That's kind of on a...
Oh, right here, that's Rascaltown Road.
Rascaltown Road.
Yeah.
That was weird how that kind of bent over there.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
And then Brown Crossroads as well. That's that far eastern part. That's on the county line, or excuse me, not county line. That's on the edge of the polygon right here just to the east of Loretto. It looks like it's still, I say getting stronger. It looks like it's still maintaining its strength here from the high top next rad, but we're down to 3 strikes. So that continues to tell me that this cell continues to struggle, which is good. Hopefully it continues to do that same thing. And let me see what the Weather Service in Nashville has been saying. They obviously canceled the warning in Wayne, and they've continued it. So hopefully, if it continues to even look more disorganized here. So hopefully this continues to maintain what it's doing, and that way the Weather Service in Nashville probably will end up being inclined to maybe cancel the tornado warning or just let it expire, because it will continue to go. I believe it went to 1:30, so it's got another 27 minutes on it. And guys, you see anything else on that back end? Again, I'm not seeing anything velocity-wise, at least from this perspective, that shows that this is trying to re-strengthen.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm looking at our live radar, and I'm not seeing indications of really strong inflow into it. We are a little attenuated, which means the powerful government radars have a better view, but ours is a little less powerful, so the rain kind of blocks it. But even still, I'm not seeing strong winds into it at the low levels. So I continue to like the trends I see, but we've already seen it go up once all of a sudden, and over the next 20 some odd minutes that this warning is in effect, it wouldn't shock me if it does it again, but I like what I see so far, and I know you do too.
Let's do another kind of back out view again because again, there's no tornado on the ground. I'm not seeing anything that shows that it's imminent, so we're not missing anything right now. So as we take a little bit of that broad perspective, so watching that cell that is just now crossing 65 into parts of Marshall County, getting close to the Lewisburg area, nothing significant there. We're still watching cells that are trying to develop out here towards the west. That's where that model guidance I mentioned has hinted that if we were to get some afternoon supercells today, they should start to develop right over in this area, and they would eventually track on through. Looks like all the development right now is starting to fire up closer to that Tennessee River area, from Memphis down towards Clarksdale, down towards Greenville, Mississippi as well. So we'll continue to keep a close eye on those, but at least just for the near term, this is our only cell that is right here in southern Lawrence County. This is south of Lawrenceburg. So again, if you're watching us from Lawrenceburg, if you're watching us from the Summertown area, Etheridge area, this does not affect you. This is the very southern portion of the county, from Loretto down towards St. Joseph and Wolf Creek, that kind of US 43 corridor down from Loretto towards the state line. That's kind of that general area that we're talking about. Rotation still there, but it's still broad. I'm not seeing anything that's tight. You're not getting that bright red and green close together that tells you that, hey, there's a good amount of rotation here. There's a chance at a tornado. Again, this is right between Iron City and St. Joseph and Wolf Creek right here. So again, not a lot of rotation with this. Tornado warning still continues. That goes until 1:30. But I would say if this continues to show the way that it's going, I would suspect that the Weather Service might start to think about letting that tornado warning go. I do note that the strike counter is going back up again, so there's a chance that we're starting to see this cell try to increase. There's still a good core on it, Chase.
Yeah.
There's still, there might still be some pea-sized hail falling with this. I don't think it ever got very large, like quarter size, but anytime you start seeing that hail potential go up again, that's telling you that the updraft's starting to strengthen.
I agree with that. And I mean, all of these warnings have had nickel-sized tags on them, so I agree the hail hasn't been a huge concern. It definitely hasn't materialized in the biggest concern, in the sense of where it has this massive supercell dropping tennis balls or anything like that. But I still think that is a fairly robust core for the size of this supercell, which, I'd honestly call it a mini supercell. I mean, with the size of it.
Yeah, and it's got that rotation.
Yeah, and it does, exactly, and it does exactly. So, and we are seeing those strikes kind of go up a little bit. If you have an eye for patterns, you do want to keep an eye on that. It might, there's 8 now, so when you see these trends upwards, that's when your antennas start going off a little bit, and you want to keep a closer eye on it. And I think we might be seeing that again. If it gets over double digits, I think I'd safely, and there's 9, so I think we're starting to see it trend up again. So we'll have to watch at the low levels there, see if that translates down. Last time it didn't quite, but it wouldn't take much for it to do it.
Yeah.
And we're starting to get this camera in view of our minor hill camera. It's getting closer and closer, so we have a little bit of a better visual. I'm still not seeing anything, which I'm now just starting to get it into view, but I'm still not seeing anything, but we do now have eyes again on this storm.
All right, that's good.
A couple of things too with this, just to the east of Mount Nebo, all the way into virtually just north of downtown St. Joseph, you've got a lot of farmland, a lot of big fields right in through there. So you've got a decent hail core, but you're about to slide right into the path of, in fact, it's going to be just right on top of the circulation. You've got South Lawrence and Loretto High School right in that area as well. To my understanding, they were looking at putting a halt on bus travel and the dismissing the kids. They were supposed to get out to beat the afternoon round of this stuff early today at 1 o'clock. But to my understanding, I think they were looking at doing a hold. But nevertheless, that's exactly where you've got this thing now rolling into, because out of that agriculture area, you get right into the heart of the schools in that general area.
Right. You kind of really go between farmland. You actually got like a decent settlement with towns here and there. So again, this is just to the east of Mount Nebo, and this is where that little hail core is. Not a huge hail core. I think we're only talking about maybe pea size potentially at most. I'd say, penny might even be a stretch. The strikes are going up. That's now 11. So again, that's telling us this storm's gathering itself up. It's intensifying once again. We saw that happen, and when it did that, it did try to produce another tornado. We had another good lowering, a funnel potentially from that lowering earlier as this tried to re-strengthen. So it is going to try probably to produce another tornado, now up to 12. Let's see what the velocity data is. It looks like it should kind of be in this area. It might be trying to redevelop on the south side right here. Sometimes if the supercell, once it starts to recycle, you have that one area rotation that is the primary area of rotation that starts to go away, and then you get another area that starts to develop on the back end of that rotation. So it could be like this is the remnant circulation, and we could have another one that's trying to develop here right closer to the state line. I don't know how that kind of marries up with the reflectivity data.
I'll take a look here for you.
Kind of in that little notch right here, just to the southeast of St. Joseph.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's probably between cycles right now.
Yeah.
Especially with this updraft starting to strengthen again with those lightning strikes now up to 13. That now 14.
14.
So I think over the next 5 or so minutes, we'll watch for redevelopment of another mid-level mesocyclone and see if that translates down to a wall cloud. Of course, we have eyes on it back here pretty well, actually. We're seeing it from Minor Hill, so we'll keep an eye on it. We got all eyes on it. That much is for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got one of our spotters. He's about to call in. He has direct eyes on the cell.
All right.
As he's getting close.
Fantastic.
All right, that will be absolutely perfect.
Live radar? Yeah. Sure thing.
That's kind of interesting right here.
Yeah, and the core is continuing to strengthen. Matter of fact, we're starting to see those higher DBZ values now in the core, so
Yeah.
More support for the fact. But Sam, you said live radar you want to see? Okay.
I will go ahead and say, we're not hyper focusing on roads right now, specific times of arrival, because even though we've already done that, we've given you that heads up with the times of arrival, the fact that we're not hyper focusing in is a good thing, because that tells you that I'm not really seeing much the way of rotation, where there's no tornado on the ground. So the fact that we're still kind of sitting back and watching this, that's a good thing. So if you are kind of wondering, hey, why aren't you talking about my road, my town, that's a good thing. If we're not specifically talking about you, that's a good thing. We're just kind of sitting back and watching to see what happens with this cell. I didn't see what happened with our radar. Did we have anything with it?
It's a little attenuated now, but I will say there is some inflow there. That's what you see right here with these lighter values.
Yeah.
That's going that way. So if we can get out of the rain here, we might be able to see a little bit better of a wall cloud over the coming minutes. But right now, it's still just a little too attenuated for my liking, just because of the fact that we're, like I said, kind of out ahead of it. And you see a little updraft there. It looks like it's eating that up too.
And let's go ahead and do this, because now it looks like it's trying to go maybe a little more towards the northeast.
Yeah,
so let's do a storm track. Go back to the next rad, because that's going to be able to see kind of back over here. Do about right where that core is, and kind of take it more towards, not right parallel with 43, kind of go towards that Union Hill area. Yeah, kind of about like that. And then we can back out and we'll give more times of arrival, because this does look like it's trying to go maybe a little more north as opposed to east. And I mentioned there's a chance that it could do that. If it does, we'll have to watch it very closely. So Loretto around 115, Liberty Grove at 122, Union Hill 127, 5 Points 129, Leoma 130, Revelo around 136, Crossroads 138, and Fall River at 141. Again, this looks like it might try to turn a little towards the north. If it does, usually that means a good thing potentially, because we talked about earlier those right movers. If it goes more east than northeast, it usually picks up better rotation. If it goes more towards the right, if it goes more towards the left or north, usually ends up losing some of that rotation. Doesn't mean it's impossible to get a tornado, but you usually start to lose that better rotational aspect with the supercell. Still looking at a good core here, and like what Chase said, it looks like there might be another updraft that's trying to get going, and that might be why that lightning count is starting to go up again. We're getting close to 20. Again, that's that counter here. Anything in this frame, that's what it counts. So in this entire frame that you see behind me, we've got 19 strikes over the past 15 minutes. We see a spike in that. That tells you the updraft is getting stronger, and that also could translate to some better rotation if that updraft continues to get stronger and can actually start to rotate a little bit better. Right now, I know we're kind of looking higher up. There's still that rotation. It doesn't look, Chase, like a supercell like it did earlier. I know we're kind of getting higher up in the altitude here with the radar beam, but you still don't have that. It almost looks like a big cell as opposed to a supercell that has a hook with it.
I'm with you there. And even on our live radar, I'm still, keeping a close eye on it. It's kind of shearing out just a little bit on the front side. That's some science stuff. I won't bore you with that. But it's definitely not a super as it was earlier. I still would, I'd still definitely call it a supercell. But the mesocyclone is sort of, it's kind of meandering, right? It's not really, responding to this lightning growth or this updraft jump immediately. And of course, there is some delay in that, but I don't see any huge cause for, violence right now. I don't think it's doing anything major at the moment, but it could any moment at all. And of course, we see it on our Minor Hill cam. I'm looking at that behind the scenes here.
Let's go ahead and flip. We haven't looked at the Minor Hill camera yet. While we do that, I do want to note we're still monitoring things on the back end. The Weather Service in Huntsville, that they are expecting to get a tornado watch within about 2 hours. That's what they expect from the office potential. So they got another chat from the Storm Prediction Center. So they expect a tornado watch within 2 hours. So roughly around 3 to 3:15 is when we expect that tornado watch to be issued. It will likely include all of us here in our Tennessee Valley viewing area. They're also noticing more vigorous looking cumulus clouds on the satellite in Mississippi towards the southwest. And that bears watching, because we had that radar image earlier. We're watching that area. Whenever you start getting more vigorous cumulus development, that's all this stuff. You start to see those clouds go up. You start getting that storm potential, and those storms could quickly become supercell. So this is our Minor Hill camera. Here's your downdraft over here. Here's your rain shaft, potential for some small hail over in this area. This is where you're going to be watching the potential for that rotation. And I will say that looks more like a actual base as opposed to a wall cloud. I don't see anything that is just kind of hanging there. And we would be having a really good perspective from it, because that's that rain-free base. That's that updraft. So you don't get the rain from that. You get the rain from the downdraft that comes on the downward, or the downwind side of that supercell. So that's kind of good news here, that we're still seeing that base. It's rain-free, so it's getting that nice, warm, moist, unstable air.
Southeast at 15.
Yeah, southeast at 15 over here, with a dew point of 70 and a temperature right around 80 degrees. So that is a air mass that is very sticky out there, very moist and unstable, and is very ripe for these storms to take advantage of. The only thing is, they have the instability about the wind shear, and sometimes the wind shear is kind of going to change in every general location. We don't have a lot of low-level wind shear. When we talk about wind shear that we look at for big-time tornado events, we don't really have that type of wind shear in place. We have enough wind shear that you can get supercells from this, and you can get tornadoes like we saw, and some of them could be strong. But the overall wind shear aspect with this that we really want to see for a very, very robust high-end tornado threat is kind of not really there today. The thing that will mainly focus with these stronger tornado potential is these localized areas of some stronger wind shear, and get those boundaries involved. You saw that observation from Minor Hill that had that south-southeast wind at 15. That's that kind of locally enhanced low-level shear that we can have that could potentially produce some stronger tornadoes today. So that's what we're kind of looking at from kind of an environmental standpoint. We have wind shear. It's there. It's enough for tornadoes, but it's not overly high where we're really talking about a major, major tornado event today, which is the really good news to have. We're still watching the area rotation. It is now towards the southeast of Loretto, right along Highway 227 that goes all the way down towards the state line, towards Liberty Grove. This is going to cross Brown Crossroads, Liberty Grove, and if it holds together, which I think it will, because it's really close to that end of that tornado warning, I think it will hold together by the time it gets to Union Hill. And is that pronounced Rama? Rama. Pronounced Union Hill and Rama, down towards 5 Points, Bird Mill. Again, I'm still learning these little town names over here, so just bear with me with that. Lower Moccasin right here on top of that Bird Mill, like I mentioned. So I think this continues to track over in this area, but the question is, how tight is that rotation going to be? And it's getting kind of towards that end of the line here with that tornado warning polygon.
I don't think they are planning on extending it based on how they're talking in chat.
Okay.
They mentioned that there's still a wall cloud there, but given the history with it and such, and it looks pretty elevated, they think they're going to let the current one ride as is.
Okay, and hopefully that continues to be the case. So this will continue to ride for the next 11 minutes.
Yeah, if we can switch to the Minor Hill cam, we have the updraft view in the updraft basin full view here.
Yeah.
You see the rain shaft off to the right, then you have the clearing there. You don't really see too much hanging off the rain-free base to see a lowered wall cloud that is.
Yeah, and that's still continuing the case. Like I said, this is more your base as opposed to wall cloud. The wall cloud is just an extension of that updraft that starts to hang from the base of the storm. So we're not really seeing that wall cloud like what we saw earlier with this storm, which is good. but that doesn't mean that we won't have one a little bit later on. But just like what Fred said, it looks like, and I'm reading it here from the Weather Service chat in Nashville, it looks like they will probably allow that tornado warning to expire. Again, it expires at 1:30, so it has another 11 to 10 minutes on it. And so we'll ride that warning as long as it's on the board. We're going to be right here tracking it. We do have a report now from Bill Phillips, the EMA director, reports a wall cloud is building back with this cell. And I did notice this little feature right in here. It's still kind of flat with the base, but if there was a slight lowering, it's going to be right here just towards the left of that rain shaft. You got something, Ben?
Real quick, I've gotten a message from some folks at the schools, specifically South Lawrence, and if they are watching or listening to our coverage there, the threat has almost completely passed the schools. It is now to the southeast of the school site. A lot of upset and worried kids. They are in tornado warning lockdown at this time. And I just wanted to issue a word of peace and calm to them that you're okay, everything is fine, and here within the next few minutes you'll be allowed to come out of that safety precaution. Everything is going to be just fine. Don't stress about it. The worst of this has completely passed where the schools are, and we're just watching to see what happens now downrange from the school. But everybody, you are okay at South Lawrence Elementary, South Lawrence School, and at Loretto High School.
Yeah, exactly right. And let's go ahead, let's go back. We're going to be watching this. That's that kind of wall cloud feature. What looks like, there we go. That's that little wall cloud feature that we're watching that looks like it was reported to starting to get its act back together. Let's go back to the radar and let's zoom in, because I do want to focus in exactly what Ben was just saying. Loretto High School is right here. It is just to the east of Loretto High School. We're talking about the east side of Loretto, moving away from the school. This is towards Brown Crossroads and Liberty Grove. So if you leave from the school, you take Highway 227 towards the east of town. That's that type of area that we're talking about with where this potential tornado in circulation is. So just like Ben said, just, hang in there a little longer. This is moving away from you. There's no tornado that's coming towards the school. You're just fine. This is east of Highway 43, and this is oh so close to getting out of that tornado warning polygon between Brown Crossroads and Liberty Grove. Let's go ahead and go over to the watch warning map, because I do want to mention we do have a tornado watch that goes up to the state line of Alabama and Mississippi. This is right here. This includes McNairy County, Hardin County in Tennessee. It includes our Tishomingo County area and points towards the west. So we do have part of our viewing area under a tornado watch right now. This will be extended. I say extended. There will be another watch that will be issued downstream of this. I mentioned earlier the Weather Service office in Huntsville said give it about 2 hours or so. So about 3 to 3:15 is when they expect a tornado watch to be issued for the rest of the area. I would imagine it's going to include all of central Tennessee, all of northern Alabama, and probably go down into parts of central Alabama as well. So you see our only warning on the map is still that tornado warning here that continues for the next 7 minutes. We're still watching this area rotation. We're getting reports of the wall clouds trying to get better organized.
Weather Service has said that they will either let it expire on time or cancel it early.
Okay, I see that. Yeah, the storm has really died off, so we're going to let the tornado warning expire or cancel. So we'll wait for that to drop off the board. So we'll stay here just a little longer until that actually happens. Again, those lightning strike counter, we're still watching that. It's up to 14. So the storm's still trying to regather itself. It is not like what it was back in Waterloo, and it really wasn't like what it was about 10 to 15 minutes ago, because it still had a decent area of rotation with it, and that rotation is just oh so weak. And we're looking at the mid-level of the storm here. That's where you get that rotation and that tornado development to start. It doesn't go from the ground up. It goes from up in the cloud in the storm all the way down towards the ground. So that's why we're actually looking at the mid-levels here is good, because if it doesn't have a good tight rotation, there's not going to be any tight rotation down towards the surface. So that tells me that this area rotation, this mesocyclone, the whole storm that's rotating is still struggling but we're still watching it. It hasn't dissipated yet, so we can't say, oh, it's no longer a good producer tornado, we just leave it alone. No, we're still going to be watching this as it gets very close to that Union Hill area towards Bird Mill and Center Point as well. But right now I'm not seeing anything that is, I say that next scan did kind of up the rotation just a little bit. It's still not tight. I want to stress that. You really want to see these bright reds and greens just close together, and just you want to see this be as bright as possible and this as bright as possible, and that ends up becoming a tornado vortex signature, and we don't have that. So the fact that it's still rotating, we still need to watch this very closely. Let's go ahead and do a back out view because that warning is now out of the polygon. Let's do another storm track. Yeah. Let's do another storm track. I want to take it because that thing's going to continue to move downstream. It's not going to go away anytime soon. It's not producing a tornado right now, but the storm itself is not going to go away anytime soon. So Union Hill 5 points and the Revelo area between about 128 and 138, Fall River at 141, Minor Hill at 145, Oak Grove 150, and the Stella community at around 154. So again, that's that area rotation that we're still watching. If it continues to track off towards the east, it could impact more parts of Giles County. We're talking about Pulaski down towards Crescent View, down towards Aspen Hill, Bunker Hill potentially, Frankenwig potentially, Beach Mill right there along Interstate 65. If this area of rotation over here continues to track towards the east, it will go out of that storm track that Chase has drawn, but it's going to take some time to get there, and there's no telling what this storm is going to look like when it gets there at all. I will say that the Weather Service has obviously allowed that tornado warning to expire. They don't have a severe thunderstorm warning on it. They have a significant weather advisory, a special weather statement. So that is telling us that, hey, this storm is not even severe. The only severe aspect of this ended up being that tornado. And there's still evidence of rotation here. I'm still looking at that Minor Hill camera. If you want to flip over there just real quick, and then we'll wait for that tornado warning polygon to bounce off the screen, and then we can actually kind of catch our breath for a little bit. I got about maybe a minute into my nooncast, and then all of a sudden, here goes that tornado. So there's that rain-free base. This is the updraft of the storm here. You see the rain, all of it towards my back. That's the downdraft of the storm, and there is not really a lowering here. There was a report from the Lawrence County EMA that there was a wall cloud that was trying to get its act together again. I'm not shocked that it tried to do that, but it really struggled because I'm not seeing anything wall cloud potential out there. There's a little bit of a lowering back here, but that's just that back edge of that updraft. So that's that back end of the storm that's allowing that upward motion feeding into it. But I'm not seeing anything that is really sticking out as maybe a wall cloud that's trying to form here. What you guys are seeing in the, it looked like you were kind of shifting, like something was going on.
Keeping back here.
Okay. Chase, why don't you kind of do like another reset real quick, and then that tornado warning's off in here about 2 minutes. So let's kind of do like a reset for a couple minutes.
Yeah, let's. I'm going to go back to the
buy
radar
me
network.
some time because we've gotten permission to show that Waterloo picture earlier.
Okay, perfect.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Very good. Good timing, too, for that, because just to our west, we're starting to see a little more of that development popping up. Big
A lot of lightning over here towards Clarksdale.
Let me loop that for you so we can see just how fast we had that coming up. Let me speed the loop up a little. There we go.
That developed quickly. And
Yeah,
that's kind of what we were thinking today. Once these go up, they're going up.
And that's exactly what they're doing, right where they should have been too, at least according to the models there. And we're still seeing some bubbling up in northeast Mississippi that we'll have to watch, through Hardin County, McNairy County, maybe into Wayne County eventually. If those can get established, those have the potential to be supercellular as well. So we're starting to see that development increase. This one was a little ahead of schedule, although there was that chance, ahead of this. But I think the main round will be coming in over the next couple of hours, and we might be seeing that try to develop here now over pretty much right now and over the next hour or so. So we've got to watch that carefully.
That's going to end up being a dominant supercell.
I agree.
I'm not saying that that's going to end up impacting us here. It could, but that's going to end up being a dominant supercell.
Yeah,
The models have definitely honed in on the fact they've been going back and forth between how the evolution happens, but they have been very adamant that when these cells go up, they're going to go up very quickly, and they're going to start to rotate. They'll become supercells, and they could become tornadic very quickly. But they're also hinting at the potential for these cells that you see near Clarksdale. They're all by themselves. You see a lot of cellular activity up here, but there's not a lot of cellular activity around this one. So that could end up becoming a very dominant supercell, and that could be one that we're going to have to be watching for a long time. Again, I'm not saying that's going to impact here in northeast Mississippi and southern Tennessee and northwestern Alabama. This could easily go further to the north or further to the east, but that's just all by itself, and that is one that we'll have to watch very closely. What you got over there?
Yeah, I was going to mention, we actually have permission now to show some pictures of that tornado earlier. Here we are on link 3. Matter of fact, we'll take that there. That was the tornado crossing the river near Waterloo there, pretty much at the same time that we were seeing it on our camera. That's a ground perspective of that tornado. That's very impressive.
Great picture from Anita Perigin.
Yeah, so that's definitely ground truth, if anything, for sure. It's that waterspout phase of it.
That's that waterspout phase, and I'm guessing, I can't tell if this is pointed back towards the southeast or west.
If I had to guess, that was probably looking northeast, given the tilt of the tornado and the direction it's moving. So
it's probably looking. Very
impressive photo. Hopefully they were in shelter while they were.
Hopefully so. So then when that goes back over land, that becomes a tornado. It's still a tornado here, but it's a waterspout because it's over the Tennessee River. That is a great picture, Anita. Great job with that. And again, hopefully you ended up taking shelter right after you snapped that picture. But great vantage point there. So that shows that cell does have a history of producing at least one tornado. It's uncertain if it maybe lifted and touched down again, but it at least produced one. And that was when it was back towards the Waterloo area, and that's right as we were getting on here at noon. Like I mentioned, I probably got about a minute to two into my noon show, then all of a sudden we had, boom, tornado warning, because we were watching that cell very closely. It's now over here. Tornado warning has expired. To what, Chase?
I was just saying, the board's clear. We're all good.
The board is clear.
No warnings.
We're all good right now. So that tornado warning has been canceled and expired here for Lawrence County. We're still watching that cell. I want to stress, just because that tornado warning is gone doesn't mean it can't come back. I want to have that kind of that caution for parts of Giles County, so from Pulaski down towards Elkton, right along the Interstate 65 corridor. That would be next in line once this moves from Lawrence County into parts of Giles County. So again, we're going to watch that very closely. It's not off the board, meaning that cell is still there, so we're still going to be watching it very closely. But right now we have no active warnings for our viewing area, but we do have that tornado watch here for Hardin County, Tishomingo, and back to the west, if we want to put that on there. And guys, let me know if you have anything else before we kind of toss things back and kind of catch our breath over here. But here's our tornado watch. And click on it. I don't remember how far it went to. Time-wise, it goes until 7. This is a tornado watch for Hardin County, Tishomingo, and points off to the west. That goes until 7 p.m. The Weather Service office in Huntsville has stated that they have been in contact with the Storm Prediction Center. There will be another tornado watch downstream of this, and that should be issued here probably closer to 3 p.m. They were saying give it about 2 hours, and that was about 30 minutes ago. What you got?
Oh, just talking about some more development out towards
Madison
County. Little shrimps, as we call those, right?
Yeah.
As they start to develop and kind of get into that wind shear, we're definitely starting to see more of those pop up. And there's just one of a handful really going on across the area, this time east of 65.
East of 65, and this is in Madison County. This is Highway 53. This is Research Park Boulevard right here. This is right on top of where you have the racetrack over here. You've got a Shell station right here. The not Quick Trip. Where is it? Quick Mark. Quick Mark is right there, right here on North Side Acres. This is what actually turns into Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard as it moves on off towards the northeast here. You got that new road development here, that kind of northern bypass that's starting to get going here on the north side of Huntsville. This is like what Chase said, that little shrimp looking thing has a little bit of a kink on the back side. And I will stress, I've said this multiple times, it's not going to take much for these cells to go up and start to rotate. There's more than enough shear today that you get a cell that does not have any lightning whatsoever, and it starts to have a rotating updraft. That's that type of atmosphere we're dealing with today. but I will stress the low level wind shear aspect today is not extreme. So that's why we're not expecting major tornado events. We're not expecting multiple EF4s, multiple EF5s that are coming from these storms. That low level shear aspect just isn't there, but it's enough that these storms will rotate, potentially produce tornadoes, and some of those tornadoes could be on the strong side that we'll have to keep a very close eye on. So this cell will continue to track towards the northeast, away from the Research Park Boulevard area, and get very close to Meridianville. This should stay north of Alabama A&M University, right there on Memorial Parkway, North Memorial Parkway. This is going to get very close to Huntsville Executive Airport, which is out here in Meridianville, very close to Moore's Mill, maybe the Ashland community. So we're talking about the potential, if this continues to strengthen, northern and northeastern Madison County, outside of downtown Huntsville and Huntsville proper. But again, no lightning on this. There's not a lot of velocity data with this, suggesting that there's tight low-level rotation. But you see that little aspect of that storm, that kind of kink back over here, it is rotating ever so slightly in the mid-levels, but there's no severe thunderstorm warning, no tornado warning on that right now. Anybody else have anything to add before we kind of toss things back and take a break?
I hear
everybody
silence.
I hear silence. I see shaking of the heads.
And no news is good news.
Yep. Real quick, right before we go back, let's go back into that cell. I just want to make sure we're not missing anything that's developing. Again, there's still that cell that we're watching that had that tornado warning on it. Just real quick look.
Down to 4 on the lightning counter.
Down to 4, which is good. Fall River, Revelo probably seeing a little bit of some small hail potential. It's still rotating. It's going to rotate, but it's not anything significant. I'm not seeing anything that screaming tornado is about to develop. So I think we're actually going to be good to go with that. So again, we had that tornado warning. That's with this cell right here. It is no longer producing a tornado. It is no longer producing very strong rotation, but we're watching it very closely, so we're not going anywhere. Like I mentioned, this is just one cell out of potentially others that we'll be dealing with later on down the road. We'll just have to cross that bridge when it actually comes and see how today plays out. Just so stick with us here at the Tennessee Valley Weather Center. We'll keep you updated on that. Again, want to reiterate, tornado watch off to our west, including Hardin and Tishomingo County until 7. There will be tornado watch for all of us later on today, probably closer to 3 p.m. to 3:30. So we'll give you the latest information on that as it comes. For Chief Meteorologist Fred Gossage, for meteorologist Ben Luna, Chase Wilson, Kelly Rawson, and Sam Camp, and meteorologist Taylor Plott, stick with us here at the Tennessee Valley Weather Center. We'll continue to keep you advised.
You're watching the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel.